Welcome to the making of Making Melrose. I'm Deanna Sparrow, and I am an assistant professor of theater here at the Slippery Rock University Theater Department. And I am excited to have the opportunity to talk to this team of creators, directors, stage managers, actors, designers, and technicians that are behind Making Melrose, a world premiere social media musical largely created in and for virtual space. So let's go ahead and get started with some introductions.
Hi, my name is Abby Malzahn, and I played Cassidy Winters in Making Melrose.
Hi, I'm Sean Ferroni, and I played Milo Jacobson.
Hi, my name is Kate France, and I played Melrose.
Hi, my name is Gwen Lillycrop, and I played Imogene Holloway.
Hi, my name is Alana Mallory, and I played Jamie King.
Hello, my name is Colton Edwards, and I played Moreland Maddox.
Hello there, I'm Corbin Dunn, and I played Hermes Stool.
Hello, I'm Shane Treelor, and I was part of the ensemble.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kim, and I was part of the ensemble.
Hi, I'm Libby Rock, and I'm a part of the ensemble.
Hello, everybody. My name is Omri Shine, and I am the book writer and the lyricist.
My name is Daniel Lincoln, and I had the pleasure of collaborating with Omri Shine as the composer of the score.
My name is Aaron Galligan-Sturl, and I was the director.
My name is AJ Sansonetti, and I was the associate director.
My name is Will Schuler, and I was the music director.
My name is Caitlin Laws, and I was the choreographer.
Hi, I'm Alan Waters, representing Dimly Lit Productions. We're the editing team.
Hi, I'm Denise Veneta, and I'm the production stage manager.
Hi, I'm Garrett Fritz, and I was a co-assistant stage manager.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Maurice. I am the costume designer.
Rachel James Katz, I go by James, and I was assistant set and lighting designer, as well as a recording technician.
Let's go ahead and jump in and talk a little bit about this really unique process. Aaron, Danny, and Omri, I would love to know how the three of you got to know each other prior to this process, because really I think that's how this process came to be.
So I've known Danny Lincoln for a long time. We first met when Danny was a composer at the NYU Grad Musical Theater writing program. When I got cast in his thesis musical project, and I was an actor in the show, and Danny and I became friends starting there.
Aaron is being very humble right now. He was the lead in the first reading of the show. I knew I wasn't going to let him out of my sight and have kept tricking him into continuing to collaborate with me.
And, I teach classes in New York City, and Danny was also a regular pianist for a lot of the classes that I would teach. We worked on a number of new musicals over the years, some where Danny was the music director and I was directing. Sometimes I would work on one of Danny's projects. So we've known each other for quite some time. And Danny introduced me to Omri, who I had actually not met before this process.
I'll jump in. Actually, it's interesting because Daniel and I have only known each other for about a year and a half. And we actually recently collaborated on a new musical called The Remarkable Mr. Holmes, which is supposed to have its premiere this summer. It's an irreverent take on the Sherlock Holmes stories. So this was exciting. Just it's crazy to me that it was like 2 or 3 months ago that Danny contacted me and said, "Hey, do you want to work on this project and possibly write a musical within 3 or 4 weeks?" And I was like, sure, why not?
Really putting it into perspective, how long it usually takes to how long this took. I mean, it is remarkable.
It oftentimes actually takes years. I mean, literally years to put together a show of this kind of a size. We were trying to figure out a way to do a musical this semester, and we kept running into rights problems where a lot of streamers would not let us broadcast their pieces if we edited it together, which is what we wanted to do. Danny and I kind of came up with this idea of like, well, what if we literally just write a new show? And I said, Danny, that's insane. How would you do that quickly? And he said, we write really fast. And I know Danny and I trust him. And I said, well, but we only have 3 weeks to write the show. And so what actually happened was we held auditions specifically to try to find some people that we thought it would be fun to write the show really for. Not a single word was on the page when the auditions happened. Not a single word. We had a couple ideas of like, maybe it could be about these couple ideas. We got the group of actors in the room. We went, oh, that person, that person, that person. And then we went, great, based on all of those people, let's write these roles. So all of these roles were literally specifically written for these actors.
It's an incredibly scary risk to walk into an audition room and only have general concepts for a show, but really sort of put all your eggs in the basket of the actors that are coming in before you. And what was so great about every single person who's on this Zoom call, and also the company members that aren't able to be here right now, is you all brought such intelligently crafted, well thought out, complete performances to your auditions that it was inspiring for me, Omri and Aaron, because it also gave us more ideas of how we could flesh out the basic show concepts we already had, because you guys gave us this incredible palette of characters that we could populate these ideas with.
We had two main ideas, I'd say, and then we sort of decided with who auditioned and what would work best for the whole the Zoom medium, like what would be the best. And just as Daniel said, I haven't told anybody this, but I spent like lots of sleepless nights, like thinking about song. And I don't know why I started thinking about a Charlie, like a Chuck E. Cheese. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. How about someone sings a song about wanting to be at Chuck E. Cheese? Just that's how my brain works. And it was a very bizarre experience. But again, it was just throwing out ideas. Okay, maybe this works, maybe that doesn't work. And with, I think there was 3, 4, 5, 6 drafts within the 3 weeks. Like every 3 or 4 days, there would be a new draft. And it was, thanks to Aaron, because when you write, you don't necessarily pay attention to what you're writing. You're just writing everything out there. So you need that one person to focus and go, okay, this works, this doesn't work. We need this, we need that. And that's what Aaron was remarkable at doing.
As the people who are really spearheading this project, creating it, directing it, what do you all hope that the audience experiences or kind of walks away thinking about or feeling after they watch the show?
Well, for me, the thing that I really hope is that, we're in a very complicated time in the world and a very complicated time in this country. And if nothing else, I hope people walk away really joyful. My goal in this was to have as much humor, as much laughter, as much joy, as much positivity as possible, and then also to really take away the final message of the thing, which really is about human connection.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the process. Aaron, do you want to set up a little bit about the overview of the process?
Well, we had the 3 weeks of writing. That was a Saturday. It was the final draft, which we handed to the designers, and we did the first read through the next day. So the designers start frantically designing while we do our first read through with the cast. Then half the cast left because they were in another show. And so we did 2 weeks of rehearsal with half of the cast, of which by pure ridiculous math, those 5 people were actually in no scenes together. And so what we did was we did a lot of music rehearsals, and then my amazing associate director played these 5 characters for these 5 characters in all the scenes. And we rehearsed those scenes. Our cast came back and we started frantically prepping. So the first 5 started doing audio recordings of all the songs, while the second 5 started rehearsing scenes, again with AJ. Now he's working with the other half, right? And occasionally we would try to pair them up when we had time. As these people finished recording audio, they started filming scenes. These people started filming audio. And then eventually we started just doing some of the scenes together. Oftentimes, they would be working on the scene kind of for the first time as we were getting ready to shoot it.
And so actors, what was that like? I mean, trying to build a sense of ensemble and trust and work with one another when, yeah, Sean's ready. Sean's hand is ready. Go ahead, Sean.
I have a lot of things to say. This show was so difficult. I mean, I had such a great time, but being in the other show and getting thrown into this show with just so many complications was a struggle. I feel like everything came together, but I felt like I was very behind because I had a lot to work on. I was called every day pretty much.
Sounds like you were playing a little bit of catch up. And so, right, coming in from the first show, and a number of you did that, where it's like, okay, now I got to get on this train that's already running. Any other actors, like what that process was like, trying to build trust in particular with people that maybe you weren't in a room with? Abby.
Yeah, so this is my first semester of college, and this being my first college show, I was like, oh boy, we're being thrown into the mix with it being a fully online show, and there's all the confusion of how do we even do this? My dorm room is becoming a studio where half of it's livable, half of it's like green screened and lit up. And if you film 2 scenes and one you filmed last week and the next scene is going to be filmed this week, you have to make sure that your costume looks the same. You have to make sure that your mic is on. You have to make sure that your lighting stays the same so it doesn't look all crazy. There are so many hoops to jump through, but we came through it and we figured out those kinks pretty quickly.
So ever since all of quarantine started, it's been a learning curve on how to like implement certain technology to get the best product for these productions, given how far Zoom has come since quarantine itself started. It ended up being a checklist of like, great, we're going to check off to make sure the lighting on your green screen is all clear. Great. Now we need to go back and make sure your green screen's actually flat, because it's not flat and that causes shadows. This is my like 5th or 6th production since quarantine started that is specifically for like the Zoom format and making the Zoom format more than what the Zoom format really is, because people have seen people talking in Zoom so much that now they want to see the next step. And I think part of theater that like really leaches into this is we're now bringing this format that is so used to like seeing it in person. You're using it for meetings, you're seeing it all day long, but now you're seeing it through a different lens.
I'm so used as a music director to, even if you have duets, small group numbers, large group numbers, you really, really want that time to hear singers singing together. Mm-hmm. And so that we did not have that option. Rehearsals almost became like more just kind of like information sessions, especially for a number that was for groups. We were just kind of like, okay, cool. From this lyric to this lyric, or this bar to this bar, I need you on line 1. From this lyric to this lyric, I need you on line 3. Cool. Go away. Listen to these tracks that Danny has made. Come back in 3 days and we'll hear it. You play the track on your end. I'll listen to it. And I think we're going to be good. And of course, still over Zoom, you just never really know because of the sound quality. And then when we jumped into the recording studio to do our official recordings.
You were zooming in when actors were in recording studios recording.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, exactly. So we'd have them in the studio. We're getting a feed, like Michael's laptop, like hooked in to hear what was happening in the sound studio, but we couldn't hear exactly what was coming from the soundboard. So Aaron and I, the number of times would go, I think we got that.
James, do you want to talk a little bit about how you built those recording studios? Because those didn't exist before this production, I'm pretty sure.
Those did not. So our recording studio, we took together some of the pre-built flats that we had, and we used curtains that are going to be hanging in Miller to use as a sound dampening, to both insulate it and also to make sure that there's not, the sound waves don't keep bouncing around so we can get a cleaner sound. And we use that to cover both around it and on top of it. So when the actors would go in, they'd be in this room where they just close the curtains on them. It's this small little room. Outside of that, we had our soundboard. We had the mics in there, mic stand, a little music stand, lighting. And then we had like Will was saying, we had Boone's laptop hanging out. We had like a desktop and the soundboard. And then inside we had another laptop that was solely for the actors to be able to see both Aaron and Will, and occasionally AJ when he would come in, and Omri, so that we all could communicate. It was really interesting. I learned a lot about a lot of things.
I want to ask the associate director and the choreographer. So AJ is associate director, spending a lot of time in Zoom rehearsal rooms. Caitlin, as the choreographer, spending a lot of time doing Zoom square dancing. That's how I refer to it as. Zoom square dancing is what I think it is. So what was this like? AJ, can you talk us through a little bit about your process in this Zoom rehearsal space?
Yeah, it was wild. It was absolutely wild. It was crazy town. And was like, do you want to do things? And I was like, well, yeah, that's why I'm here. So he was like, all right, go. And that was awesome. So it just turned into like this true, just like partnership. It was him honing down on the comedy of it all, because I was like, I don't do comedy. But the human connection. And that was a huge thing that I was like, but I can do that. That's my thing. So I talked to Erin and I was like, the parallels between Cassidy and Melrose, I want that. I want to do that. So I had so many conversations with Abby and Kate, and figuring out these physicalities, how Cassidy would feel, and what she does, and just choreographing these moments where we see the both of them and how we can make them look and feel the same things. The biggest thing for me, and I know it affected everybody, was the fact of we're doing a show about human connection, and I haven't met almost all of my cast. They've never met either. So it's this moment of how are we supposed to be so vulnerable and honest and truthful while we've never met? It was really fun finding those moments and taking those little, just trying to figure out how we can get to each other through a screen. And that was something that I know I found just to be like my focus while going through.
So a lot of it, I would come up with a plan based on like the music, based on the text. And then I'd bring it to Erin and AJ and be like, hey, so like, these are my ideas. Like, what are your thoughts? And we tweak it and like kind of come up with a plan for it. And then I would bring it into the actors and have them just learn it. A lot of it was very quick. We literally had like a total of like, I would say 2 weeks to learn everything. And they recorded it pretty much right after they learned it. And it was just a really cool process to be able to work through Zoom and choreograph at the same time. And I know a lot of the challenges with like space and figuring out like what it's going to look like on the screen. That was something else that was completely new for me, is figuring out, oh, like how many people do we want on the screen during this movement? Do we want them to all be doing the same thing? Do we want it flashing? Like, how is the layout going to be on the screen? But yeah, it was a really cool process, and I'm really glad that Erin brought me on.
I want to kind of bring Denise and Garrett into this just a little bit. So let's start with Denise here as the production stage manager. Denise, you are a seasoned stage manager. You stage manage multiple shows. You've assistant stage managed. But this role in this show is actually closer to that of a film production manager. So I would love to hear from you a little bit about what did your job look like for this show, and how is it different than what you're used to doing as a stage manager for a traditional theatrical production?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I was trying to find a balance between being a stage manager and working with people over Zoom and working on film. Because I didn't do half of the jobs that a stage manager would do during this whole process. Like, I didn't do blocking, I didn't do calling, which I'm a little sad about because calling is so much fun. This was kind of like stage management, but at hyperspeed. So we got the script and I just had to immediately run with it. It was a lot of scheduling and fitting puzzle pieces in and just making sure everyone knew everything that was going on every day so that we could just connect all the pieces. So there were like puzzle pieces on top of puzzle pieces because we had to fit in the schedule, we had to fit in the production team, we had to fit in the actors. So connecting in ways that I wouldn't normally connect with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can just say, I mean, there's a lot of people that this show could not have happened without,
yes.
but probably Denise is maybe, number one on that list. I mean, the amount of scheduling, the amount of rescheduling, the amount of constant, like something would happen. Denise would be like, hold on, I got a solution. We're going to move this to over here. These things are going to happen this way. That person can be in that room at the same time that those three people could be over there. And I'd go, done, we're doing that. Like, it was just incredible what she was able to do. So thank you to Denise.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. And I feel like I've learned so much more, I feel like I can go on and work on film if I wanted to, which is great.
That is wonderful. Garrett, assistant stage managers, you're usually helping the stage manager with anything, right? Setting up the rehearsal space, taking line notes, you know, tracking costume needs that you can then put in the rehearsal report. What did you do in this process as one of the ASMs?
Really, almost, I mean, I took a little bit of notes, but almost none of like that really. I mean, I did a lot of recordings and working with kind of AJ and the actors, helping the rehearsal go smoothly with just like getting pre-recorded sounds going while they're rehearsing so that things can feel as humanly connected as possible. So like while they were going, you know, sometimes I would have the music running behind so that they could be listening to it and doing that at the same time.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about design. Rebecca, you want to take it away for costumes?
Sure. I mean, I can see that the main thing that was really different for me on this project is that usually we have, you know, 4 or 6 weeks, sometimes even longer to plan for a design. The first week was really 2 characters. It was Cassidy and Milo. And so as long as I could get those costumes pulled together, then I could buy myself time to get the next batch of costumes ready. And one of the things that was really challenging for this that I've never really experienced before because of the nature of what we did was not having access to some actors, you know, or having limited access to most people. And even then, if we had easy access to somebody in terms of being able to bring them into the shop, we still needed to limit that because of COVID restrictions. So we weren't doing the same kinds of fitting and the same kinds of things that we're used to doing. In fact, one of our actors, Gwen, was far enough away that I never saw her in person. It was a lot of sending things in boxes and trusting and hoping that, you know, the students were going to be, you know, ready to kind of play and have fun. I've never shipped an actor a wig in a box and hoped it was going to turn out okay. That's just not how I'm used to working. But Gwen did a great job. I would also say that Kate was up for a big challenge like that as well as Melrose. You know, I saw Kate, I think once, right, Kate? You know, I drove down to her house, dropped off a whole batch of costumes, and then Kate just made it all work.
Rachel Holfelder props, were you doing some boxing of things as well?
Yeah, I had boxes upon boxes, about one for every actor in the show. And the hardest thing for me was the concept that usually I could go to a rehearsal or something early in the process and then get my ideas from that. So it was a lot of me going, I'm sending this, I hope it works. Like, you know, because once it gets there, I don't know if size-wise, like, is it going to fit in frame? There were a couple times where I was like, I had an idea and then I was like, that's not going to work on camera.
Favorite prop in the show?
The bucket, pink bucket. It was the hardest and most frustrating prop to make, but I love the way it turned out.
You're getting lots of thumbs up here, so I think it's a big win. It's a fan fave. Okay, so I wanna circle back around to the actors. Gwen and Kate, I heard you were asked to do some unusual things in this process. Could you tell me a little bit about some of these strange and unusual things you got to do in this process?
Sure. So the man was definitely an interesting one. That stubble was really fun for me to be able to figure out. I actually ended up mixing eyeshadow with my moisturizer, and that was my stage makeup for that one. But then my other kind of crazy look that I did was the broken Melrose. So when they create me, they first create a version of me that they decide is not what they wanted at all, and it's kind of scary. And I had this big fluffy wig and like this really intense makeup, and like lipstick was all over my face. It was actually kind of scary. My sister said I looked like Luna Lovegood stuck a fork in a electric socket, I think was how she described it. So that was—
I have a really clear image right now from that.
I hope that paints a picture. So that was really fun to experiment with, because my character is supposed to be this perfect image of what people want her to be. And so it was really fun to kind of play around with those extremes for a night. And it ended up, all I had to do for that scene is there's a minute and a half of footage of me standing and waving. I don't have any lines, but that makeup and hair took me a good hour and 45 minutes, and it was totally worth it.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Gwen.
It was definitely a really fun process. I can't tell you how many times I would pop into a rehearsal or filming room and Aaron would be giving me notes and he'd just sit there for a second and say, okay, this is going to be weird, but trust me. And I was like, oh man, what are we doing today? Like, I mean, there was some techno yodeling in there. That was definitely a very fun experience. There's like a 30-second clip of me slow dancing with a bucket, you know, naturally. There was just a lot of really fun and random things that I got to do that I would never have the chance to do ordinarily. So definitely a good time.
And now you can put techno yodeling on your resume.
I have to say, just to chime in, as a composer, to even get the opportunity to write something as ridiculous as a techno yodel, and then to have a cast member who is so fearless, who's willing to dive in and figure out what exactly a techno yodel would be, that another one of my favorite moments from this whole process.
That's pure magic. Okay, so there's still some cast members I haven't heard from. So what I would like to know is perhaps like favorite moment or biggest challenge or biggest success. Colton.
I just have to say, I loved my costume. I just felt like $1 million wearing it. Like I felt like, I don't know, a superstar, you know, and that's a good feeling, right?
Did that costume, did feeling like $1 million, did it affect your performance?
Yeah, I felt like I just, you know, I transformed right then and there. I felt like I could really jump in.
Who else haven't? Oh yeah, Shane.
One of the biggest challenges for me is my apartment complex has the worst Wi-Fi connection possible. This show we were rehearsing a number, we were learning the end of the number, and right as we started getting to the end of the number, my Wi-Fi decided to just, everyone froze, and I was like, what do I do? And then all of a sudden it just disconnected me, my Wi-Fi wouldn't connect for the rest of the night. So that was one of the most difficult things, because usually in theater, no one just freezes randomly.
Don't tell Shane, but the next time we're all in space together, we're all gonna freeze in front of him and see if we can get him.
What a terrible trick to play on one of our fellow
He got me. Hook, line, and sinker, he had me. Oh my gosh. Corbin.
One of the most interesting things about doing this all from home is the fact that my family is downstairs while I'm recording all of this. So they're just like, huh? And then every once in a while, I'll have to go down and ask them to put a piece of my costume on me. So this happened just the other day where I walked downstairs and I'm holding these red feathers and I'm just like, I need you to tie this on my wrists and over my shoulders. And they're like, what is this for? And I was like, it's for the show. I'm telling you, it's perfectly fine.
I also think your family needs to get some sort of honorary wardrobe crew mention here.
Oh, definitely. That's what my mother.
All of your families.
My mother insists to have credits for being part of the costume crew on this one.
That's right. That's right. Alicia.
So this isn't a challenge, so to say, but there's this part in the show during the first song, during Glitz. I have this like shaving cream on, and when we were going to record this, I don't know what slipped my mind, but I put it on, and then I realized I don't have a towel like anywhere near me. So like I just have this like pile of shaving foam just like on the desk, on me, on my clothes. And I was just like, guys, I don't have a towel. And that's a fun story.
I think my favorite moment of the filming was the night we were in the middle of filming, and our amazing Kate had this moment where she stopped and she said, I'm so sorry, I have to go because my sister is singing Beetlejuice at the top of her lungs. And you're gonna hear it over the recording. So she left. Then she came back, and like 5 minutes later, everything's going great. And she says, I'm so sorry. My brother just started singing Being Alive. And I was done. I was like, and now I've experienced everything that could possibly happen. It was heaven.
I would also love to be at Kate's house with what I can only imagine is the most musical family on the planet.
It is very loud all the time.
I wanted to say that though we haven't been able to connect in person, I really appreciated just being able to connect in general. Being locked in a bedroom 24/7 has been crazy. And what was really nice is though I haven't been able to meet many people like in person, what was really nice is that I still was able to make friends. So I really appreciate that opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and it seems like that's a unanimous sentiment. Lots of heart reactions popping up on the screens right now. Alana.
I feel like one of the biggest like achievements for us all is just having the privilege to be in such a thing as Making Melrose. Like I personally, like I'm just so humbled and honored to be able to be in a production like this. Like this is so new. We have so many things that we can use now in our toolbox and so many new experiences.
It really seems like from the reactions in the room that these are unanimous sentiments from the whole cast. This gratitude for the new experience, for working with these professionals on this show, and then also having an opportunity to perform and connect and do what you love even during COVID. So yeah, thank you all so much for sharing. I want to take it back to Erin. So Erin, as a director, any final words of wisdom or reflection about this show, this process, or even the theater that you kind of want to send us out with?
Well, the last thing I'll say is, as I said before, you know, there are a lot of incredible people that we needed in order to make this thing happen. And I already talked about Denise. You know, MVP number 2, no question, is AJ. I'm so grateful to have had him by my side through this. His attention to detail, the ability to be able to really make it happen as if I was in the room. I was so grateful to have him. I'm so incredibly grateful to my extraordinary cast who really, you know, you're the cast and the full crew. I mean, it's just incredible what we asked of all of you. And your willingness and your joy and your preparedness. All of these actors would show up and just be ready to go at a moment's notice. I mean, it was really just extraordinary. My designers who, you know, I mean, we gave them the script a day before we started and they needed to have things on time with no preparation and just hope that it all worked. And it 99% of the time did. And when it didn't, we came up with creative solutions that honestly probably were even better than the original ideas. I mean, I'm so grateful to all of them. And also, I just want to say a huge thank you to the writers. The level that the script was at when we started rehearsal was how I expected it to be at the end of rehearsal, when we had completely worked through the entire thing multiple times. And the reality is that they work so well and so fast that we were so far ahead of my expectations even before we started rehearsal. And then we were able to continue working it from there. I'm so grateful for their hard work and it was just incredible. So it's been a total gift and a joy to be doing this. I hope that it brings a little bit of joy to all of you who are watching at home. It brought an immense amount of joy to my life. We wish you all the best and hope that all of us can continue finding that connection every chance we can get.
All right, thank you so much. And can I say that's a wrap?